Okay, so this Shabbos is called the Shabbos of Vision. And the simple reason for that name is because we read in the Haftorah of the Shabbos the vision of the third Beis Hamikdash. The vision of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. And there's also a deeper meaning. Deeper meaning is the Berditchev Rebbe gave a parable to explain the inner meaning of the Shabbos. And he said that on this Shabbos, God shows every single Jew the third Beis Hamikdash. And he gave a parable to explain why Hashem shows us the third Beis Hamikdash. He said that a father had a son who he loved very much, and he bought his son a suit. And his son didn't know how to maintain the care for the suit, and the suit gets ruined. So the father buys his son a second suit. The second suit gets ruined too, and he bought him a third suit. But instead of giving him the third suit, he put the third suit away in a closet, and he just would show his son this suit from time to time, and hoping that this would encourage his son to be able to take care of the suit. That's the parable the Berditchev Rebbe says. So this is in a similar way. Hashem shows us the third Beis Hamikdash this Shabbos. Every moment of the Shabbos, we are able to. Hashem shows us the third Beis Hamikdash, and the purpose of this is in order to inspire our behavior, so that we should be deserving of getting the third Beis Hamikdash. That's the parable of the Berditchev Rebbe. And when you read the parable, there are some nuances there that you wouldn't necessarily pay attention to, but this is a parable that the Torah says. This is a parable the Torah says, so every detail of the parable has significance. And Mr. Shem, today we're going to learn the inner meaning of this parable, not just to get the bare bones of it. So just before we get into this, in the talk of the Rebbe that we're studying, Tisha B'Av didn't fall like this year. Tisha B'Av this year falls out on Shabbos. The year that we said this talk, Tisha B'Av fell out this year Tisha B'Av falls out on Sunday. The year that we said the talk, Tisha B'Av fell out on Shabbos. So we said that when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, there's more of a revelation of the third Beis Hamikdash, because the whole point of all these days of mourning the Beis Hamikdash is not just to mourn about the past. The goal of these days is to bring about the coming of Mashiach, and when Mashiach will come, all these days themselves will be Yom Tov, they'll be holidays, the greatest Yom Tov, greater than all other Yom Tov. And that's the reason why this is true for every fast day, the 3rd of Tishrei, the Gimel Tishrei, the 10th of Tevis, the 17th of Tammuz. But we find about Tisha B'Av something unique, that even before Mashiach comes, we don't say Tachnun on Tisha B'Av. We don't say Tachnun because it's called a Yontif. The Gemara calls it, the Torah calls it a Yontif. And even more, the Gemara Yerushalmi says that in the same day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Mashiach was born. And the day a person is born, on your birthday, the Gemara says you have more mazel. So it comes out on Tisha B'Av, it's a day when the mazel Mashiach shines, because that's the day Mashiach was born. So it's a day which is especially apropos for salvation. It's the day Mashiach's mazel is shining. And this has halachic significance, and that is that the reason why we say in Mincha on Tisha B'Av, the various verses about the comfort of Yerushalayim, the comfort of Mashiach, is because Mashiach was born in the afternoon of Tisha B'Av. Now, and you're looking at me strangely when I say Mashiach was born on Tisha B'Av. So, how old is Mashiach, right? If he was born on Tisha B'Av, he must be a couple of thousand years old, right? And so there are various interpretations of this passage of the Talmud, but the consensus is that on the day that the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, Hashem already opened the door for the future of the coming of Mashiach. Hashem already planted the seed at the moment of the destruction for the coming of Mashiach. It was possible for Mashiach to come at that moment. There was someone who was born about 100 years ago, made a book about him called Hayel Dapel, the Wondrous Child. And this child, it says that when you're in your mother's womb, in the stomach, an angel comes and teaches you the whole Torah. So how come we don't know the whole Torah? So it says that the angel teaches you the Torah, taps you on your lips before you're born, and that makes you forget the whole Torah. So apparently this angel was having a rough day, and the angel didn't tap this child on his lips, and the child remembered the whole Torah. And so this child was regular. He was born in I think Yerushalayim, and everyone was astounded. This kid knows the whole Torah. So they had to do some Kabbalistic processes to make the child forget the Torah, because it wasn't exactly a good thing to know the whole Torah, because Hashem wants us to learn it by ourselves. Why Hashem caused his child to know the whole Torah and then that meant to forget it while he was alive is a different story. But they never mentioned the story in reference to this passage in Talmud, which says a Mashiach was born in Tisha B'Av. It's possible that a child could be born and be born with unusual gifts, and therefore be able to be the actual Mashiach the day he's born. In other words, it could be literal as well. It doesn't have to just be figurative, metaphoric. And the Gemara says that Mashiach was born in Tisha B'Av. It could have been literal as well, that the actual one who was, if Hashem would have decided to bring Mashiach on the day at that generation, there was someone who was born who could have taken that role. So, but either way, the birth of Mashiach represents how it's at the very same time of the destruction. As we learned many times, every descent is for the purpose of an ascent. So the purpose of the destruction in the first place is not just to hurt us, to destroy us, to give us pain, but Hashem is a loving Father, and therefore the only point of a father ever giving a child a punishment is only in order to benefit the child. So the purpose of the destruction was for the ultimate coming of Mashiach. That's why it says that when the Romans entered the Beis Hamikdash, they wanted to see the Holy of Holies. They wanted to see the Kodesh HaKadoshim. And in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, top of the Ark, there are these two angelic statues, the Keruvim. And when they walked inside the Beis Hamikdash, it says that ordinarily the position of the Keruvim indicates Hashem's position with us. When they're facing each other, that means God's in love with us. God's happy with us. When God is not happy with us, they turn away from each other. So they found that the Keruvim were facing each other, which means that it was a time of love. So how could it be a time of love? Conversely, it says that in the day that King Solomon, the day that Shlomo HaMelech built the temple, it says there was a day of anger for Hashem, even though it was a day of celebration. So the answer is it depends on what's going on externally and what's going on internally. Externally, the Beis Hamikdash is being destroyed. Internally, Hashem is preparing for the everlasting third Beis Hamikdash. Hashem is remodeling the second Beis Hamikdash, destroying it, to rebuild forever the third Beis Hamikdash. So that's why the meaning of the day of Tisha B'Av is a day of Yontif, because it's about a third Beis Hamikdash. That's what it's for. So when the fast is pushed off, like in other years when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, so the positive element of Tisha B'Av is more revealed, and it's the only thing that's pushed off there. But says it's just a fast, the morning, but the positive element, the fact that Mashiach is born. And the fact that this is the day that Hashem planted a seed for the Beulah, that's not pushed off. That is on Shabbos even more when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos. The halacha is that a day of a fast in general is called time of divine grace. The fact that we do fast and we abstain from eating and drinking, even a person does that individually, and he just decides he wants to make this day a day of atonement, that action itself of fasting causes day to be at the time of divine grace. So when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, you don't have the fasting actually, but you do have the element of divine grace, even though it's you're not fasting. Not only do you also have it, but you have it even more. Hashem says about Shabbos, Shabbos is called the most desirable of days. It's a day you're supposed to eat and enjoy. So when the fast falls out on Shabbos, it mirrors the way it's going to be when Mashiach will come. We're going to eat and drink when Mashiach will come on Tisha B'Av. It says that there's a different things that the detractors, the Alter Rebbe, said to the Vilna Gaon in order to try to convince the Vilna Gaon to come out against the Chassidim and to make a ban against the Chassidim. One of the things they told the Vilna Gaon was they gave testimony that the Chassidim eat and drink, they drink wine and they eat meat on Tisha B'Av. They said it to him in order that he should sign a ban. And it was true, because Tisha B'Av, when it fell out on Shabbos, Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos, we drink wine. So basically, when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, you don't have the external element of Tisha B'Av. You don't have the negative element, the morning element. All you have is the positive, the moed, the yontiv element, the yul element. So if that's true, the Rebbe says also the fact that Hashem shows us a third Beis Hamikdash, that's also more revealed when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos. And as you were saying before, this year, although Tisha B'Av falls out after Shabbos, there's a lot of things we do differently on Shabbos as well. We don't have the egg and the ashes. So we also see this year a little more of the inner meaning of Tisha B'Av than ordinarily we have seen before. But it mentions here in the note that there is ordinarily the word simcha, the word joy, is associated with Yontif, and the word pleasure is associated with Shabbos. However, it says in the Gesifri that when the Torah uses the word ubiyom simchaschem, on your days of joy, that refers to Shabbos. Gemara Yerushalmi also says that the Shabbos, the joy of Shabbos comes from heaven. And also in Shulchan Aruch, it mentions this as well. So there is on Shabbos not just an element of pleasure, but also an element of joy in there. So this is pronounced more revealed. So let's go back now to the parable of the B'ditchev Rebbe. And now that we've said that there's more of a revelation of the third Beis Hamikdash when Tisha B'Av falls out on Shabbos, let's find out exactly what the B'ditchev Rebbe said, what it means exactly. The words he uses are, the father shows his son this suit because he wants his son to be a natural at taking care of the suit. Doesn't just want his son to take care of the suit for a moment. He wants it to be his son's natural behavior. So, and then once we're able to deserve the third suit, the third Beis Hamikdash, then Hashem will give us the third Beis Hamikdash. So, in the parable, there's a difference between the parable and the analog. There is nothing about a suit that makes you behave better. It's just that if you want to get the suit, it's more like it's like a doggy bone. It's a ploy. You show the child the third suit because you want him to behave better, so he'll want to get the third suit. But there's nothing about the suit itself that has anything to do with his behavior. On the other hand, the third Beis Hamikdash, seeing the third Beis Hamikdash, that itself is something that's inspiring. That's something that seeing the Hashem's presence, the third Beis Hamikdash, that's something without any that experience itself is something that naturally would bring us to an elevated state of mind and to want us to behave better if we saw the third Beis Hamikdash. So the question is, we did see the third Beis. We did see the Beis Hamikdash. Not only did we see the Beis Hamikdash, we were in the Beis Hamikdash. We were offering sacrifices there every day, for years, for hundreds of years. So if Hashem gave us the first and the second Beis Hamikdash, and we were there for hundreds of years serving Him, and that didn't affect us, that didn't make us deserving of the Beis Hamikdash, so why is it that Hashem is going to show us this Shabbos, and our neshama is going to see the third Beis Hamikdash, and all of a sudden that's going to have this magical effect on us, and it's going to be natural for us to behave in a way that makes us deserving of the coming of Mashiach? How will this revelation, this Shabbos, surpass the actual experience of seeing and hearing and breathing in the first and second Beis Hamikdash for hundreds of years? You get the question? The answer is like this. The B'ditchev Rebbe uses two words when he describes the vision of the third Beis Hamikdash. The words he uses are, Hashem will show it to us from a distance. Now, these two words are really opposite. They represent two opposite kind of experiences. The halacha is that once you see something, you're no longer able to if you witness an event, you are not able to serve on a jury, on a court, to decide if someone is guilty or innocent about that event. Because once you see something, you become like an interested party. You become connected to the event. So when you see something, Chassidus says it goes very deep into your neshama, very deep into you, so that there's there's nothing that could happen to you that could take away what you've seen. It becomes part of you. When you witness something, it becomes one thing with you. So it's more than just understanding. The judges, they know the truth because it's based upon the testimony, but they're still not considered interested parties because they haven't seen it. Once you see something, your conviction of the authenticity of the event is a lot greater than if you just understood that this event must have happened. So if Hashem shows us the third Beis Hamikdash, that means we see it. That's something which is very close to us, something which is very vivid. The word seeing indicates something that's very vivid, unlike something that you hear about. You hear about something, so it's not so clear, it's not so vivid, it's not so tangible, and therefore you could forget about it, or you could question whether that's true or not. But when you see it, that means it's something which is in your face and it's real and it's right in front of you. So the question is, how come the B'ditchever uses the word from a distance? If he wants to say that it's such a powerful experience, Hashem shows it to us so we could see it, so then he shouldn't say it's from a distance. He should just say that that Hashem shows it to us from up close. I mean, or not say anything. The word we see it indicates that it's something that is very close to us. So we have to say that these two words, we see it or we're shown it, and from a distance, are significant to understand exactly why this vision will be able to help us more than actually having the first and second Beis Hamikdash. Something about this that surpasses the experience of the first and second Beis Hamikdash. So what exactly is better about this? So there's an argument, or not an argument. There's two different opinions, two different angles really about the third Beis Hamikdash. Will the third Beis Hamikdash descend from heaven? Will God make it, or will human beings have to make it? There are verses that indicate that God will make it, as a verse we say every day in our Oz Yashir. Mikdash Hashem Kain Yudecha, the sanctuary, the God that you have made with your hands. Another verse says, the sanctuary, you should make for me a sanctuary. God tells us, you have to make it. So that means it's something that we make. So is it something that God makes or something that we make? It seems a contradiction. So the Rebbe explains that it's not a contradiction. There's an element, there are different scenarios that could unfold. One thing that could happen is we could build the physical one, and the spiritual one, the one that God made in heavens, is spiritual. The spiritual one will enter the physical one. That's one option. Another option is that the halacha says that putting up the doors of a building is considered equal to building the building. Halacha discusses how the just putting up the doors is considered halachically as if you built the whole entire thing. So if Hashem builds the third Beis Hamikdash and he leaves the doors for us, so then we are considered equal participants in the building of the Beis Hamikdash. That's how this could be explained. So there's two elements. There's an element that God does, and there's an element that we do. So too, in regards to so why are these two elements necessary? Why does Hashem want it to be both an element that He does and an element that we do? Why do you have to have both? You have to have both because the third Beis Hamikdash has to have two components. Number one is it has to be eternal. It says about the coming of Mashiach. The coming of Mashiach is different than the other redemptions. Other redemptions are compared to the light of a candle. The candle's lit and it goes out. The coming of Mashiach is like the light of the sun. You can't turn off the light of day. In a similar way, the coming of Mashiach is something which will last forever. The Beis Hamikdash will last forever. Therefore, Hashem has to build the Beis Hamikdash, because in order for it to last forever, you have to have Hashem's participation, on the one hand. On the other hand, Hashem doesn't just want it to be something that comes from heaven. Hashem wants it to be something that's that this world is a vessel for, that this world is part of the world. Hashem wants to have a home in the lowest realm Not that superimposed, Hashem just like brings things from heaven to the world. Hashem wants the world itself to be a vessel for it. And therefore Hashem wants us to participate in it. He doesn't just want something that just descends from heaven. So that's why there's an element of that God does, an element that we do. So in a similar way, the words that B'tisha Rebbe uses about the third Beis Hamikdash, how we're shown at the Shabbos, indicate these two components as well. On the one hand, Hashem shows it. It doesn't say we see it. It says Hashem shows it to us. There are things you could see by yourself and the things that you're shown. The emphasis of Hashem showing it to us is that when you're going to make a presentation soon, right? Take a presentation in your work. So you're going to show people something, and you're going to help them see certain elements of what you want them to see, but you can't show them everything. It's a presentation. There's a time. There's a beginning. There's a finish. It starts and finishes. There's how much you could show. There's some details you can't show. Hashem, when Hashem shows, He could show everything. Number one. Number two, a human being only sees things based upon their experience. We define things based upon our own life experience, our own. When you try to picture, for example, a tzaddik, your picture of the tzaddik. Our librarian this past Shabbos, I came on Sunday morning. The library was a bit of a mess, so the librarian says, she said, what would a normal, not regular person say when they have to clean up for 20 minutes because kids made a mess? The kids can't come in the library on Shabbos anymore. They're making a mess over here. That's what I would say. What did she say? She says, imagine, well, there's 20 minutes of cleanup. It's all back to new. It's so amazing the kids can come here on Shabbos. It's so great the kids can come here on Shabbos. There's no problem. Just 20 minutes, and we can still open on Sunday without it. So my point is that our mind gravitates to where our soul is, the way we think, the way we feel. We see the third Beis Hamikdash, yeah, but not everyone sees the same thing. Everyone sees the third Beis Hamikdash, and when Jews go into a restaurant, what do they discuss? How much is this guy making on this restaurant? How much do you think he's making on that steak? What does it cost him to make the steak? You walk in. What do you see in the third Beis Hamikdash? What's your perspective? So the B'tisha Rebbe says this Shabbos, it's not just we see it. Hashem shows it to us. That means we're going to see it the way it really is. And we're going to see it the way it's unfiltered and unadulterated, the pristine vision of the revelation of Hashem. That's the meaning of Hashem will show us the Beis Hamikdash. It's not going to be something, when we were in the first and second Beis Hamikdash, yeah, we saw it with our own eyes, but it was seen in a limited way based upon our experience and our vantage point. We brought karbanos, and were miracles that happened, and certainly being there caused you to feel and be enveloped in an environment, just seeing everybody serving Hashem together, just going there. And that's one of the reasons why Hashem gave us the mitzvah of Meiser Sheni, to bring a 10% of your earnings that had to be spent in Yerushalayim, because just by going to Yerushalayim itself was something that would make you, be more conscious of Hashem, seeing everyone serving Hashem together in Yerushalayim. So certainly it had an effect on everybody, but didn't have an effect in a way that that lasted forever. The third Beis Hamikdash, Hashem shows us something. When Hashem shows it to us, He shows us the whole entire thing. He shows us a revelation of the way the third Beis Hamikdash is really going to be, not just the way people see it from their own vantage point. And it's something. It's beyond. It's a different experience, quantitatively and qualitatively. So that's why their experience in the first, second Beis Hamikdash didn't make them naturally serve Hashem. Didn't stay because it was limited. The third Beis Hamikdash that Hashem shows us this Shabbos, it's an infinite revelation. So we're seeing something more. It's something greater than they saw with their physical eyes in this world. Hashem is showing us something far greater. However, nevertheless, there's still a difference, obviously, between Hashem showing you something and you seeing it by yourself. Hashem shows it to you. That means it's something. Hashem is just like Hashem's parting the veil, and you're seeing the third Beis Hamikdash. It's something distant. It's not something which is you. It's not something which is part of your persona. It's something which is distant from you. That's why the B'tisha Rebbe adds the word from a distance. He shows something infinite, something infinite revelation, but it's shown to us from a distance. He emphasizes the word distance to tell us that when you feel that there's something, there's an expression that a chassid laughs on Tisha B'Av and he cries in Sichos Torah. He laughs on Tisha B'Av on the one hand because he sees on the one hand that all these calamities have happened, but you also see that there's a destiny for the Jewish people. You see that we're going somewhere. The fact that all these calamities happen exactly the same day, and not just calamities, but these stunning calamities that make, they're mind-boggling, make you realize the Jewish people has a destiny, that someone's guiding us somewhere. It's not happening by itself. The fact that we've been singled out, as people don't like the words, the chosen people, because they say chosen for what? We got chosen to get punched, But that itself tells you that we have a unique destiny, that we're going somewhere. Hashem is guiding us to something otherworldly. We're going towards Mashiach. And they say Hasidim cry in Sichos Torah. Why they cry in Sichos Torah? In Sichos Torah, everyone's together and dancing the Torah. You feel the revelation of Hashem, and you feel like, that's not me. I'm not there. It's so great. It's so wonderful. It's so the Torah and dancing and the Simcha, and you feel like this distance from it. I'm not saying you're supposed to cry in Sichos Torah or smile in Sichos. Just pointing out the meaning behind this sentiment is relevant to our discussion. Seeing the third base of English, but yet it's like the Sichos Torah revelation where you don't feel you're part of it. You're shown the base of English from a distance, and that yearning itself, you feel like this is not here yet. I want this, but I'm not here yet. And that makes you a vessel for the third base of English. That makes you able to absorb internally this experience, that yearning that you have, like there's something happening and it's incredible and it's going to happen and it's not here yet. That makes you really yearn for it. It makes you a vessel for it. So that explains also the Berditchever Rebbe's wording from a distance, and we're shown the third base English from a distance. The two expressions he uses, we're shown from a distance, highlight that on the one hand it's something eternal, on the other hand it's from a distance, which means that it's not something that we have naturally within ourselves. We have to yearn for it to make it part of ourselves. Okay, just to conclude, this also will, according to this, we could explain the connection between the simple meaning of the word Chazon, which means the vision of the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, and the vision of the third Beis Hamikdash. By reading the Haftarah, reading about the destruction, and feeling the opposite of the salvation, the opposite of the coming of Mashiach, that inspires this yearning for Mashiach that makes us a vessel for the vision of the third Beis Hamikdash. And so on this Shabbos, when Hashem shows every single Jew the third Beis Hamikdash, we have both the advantage of the revelation of Hashem and the advantage of the birth of Mashiach, who Mashiach says is ready to redeem the Jewish people, is ready to build the Beis Hamikdash. This adds inspiration, this adds power to our service of Hashem, and in what we need to do to bring the coming of Mashiach. But it shouldn't. But we should go from the distance to the closeness. That seeing the Beis Hamikdash, it's really it's a lot to be said about this, but we don't have too much. We don't have any time left. Hashem shows us the third Beis Hamikdash, the Beis Hamikdash on the same Shabbos. He tells us to read about the destruction. Hashem wants us to feel the distance, so that should inspire this closeness. We should actually make it happen. And especially this year, the Rebbe said this talk in the year of Tafshin Nun Aleph, the year of which is an acronym for the words "I will show you wonders." And this year also, the year Tafshin Pei Aleph also is connected to those same words, Ployes Arenu, year that Hashem will show us wonders. May we see the Gula Mitzvah Shlema, the true Piko Ula with Mashiach, when Hashem will once again show us wonders as He did when He took us out of Mitzrayim, and it should happen. Take it mamish. L'chaim, l'chaim. Questions, comments?
So by logging from afar, it shuts into